Everybody, we are back. It is Taped on Life's Favorite Raiders podcast, Favorite Raiders channel, Favorite Raiders everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also, follow us on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me, at mholder95 for Matt, and of course, pandasups.com, TDL for discount code 35% off. Use discount code TDL for that. And of course, Dog Media Network. And also support TDL merch. Go ahead, follow that link and get some merch there, guys. So today we're just covering more players, doing some more breakdowns. So some guys that can break out, right? And we're doing Thayer Munford and Isaiah Pola-Mao right here. So could be exciting. A man from Mount Point High School, alma mater right there. So some of that, break that down. But of course, mini camp is over. So mini camp ended. Definitely a lot of talk about the defense and the offense struggling. Not really much besides that. There were some cool press conferences, I guess. But what were your thoughts on mini camp overall?
I mean, I think one of the things I was reading, Vinny's article yesterday, where he's basically pretty blunt about it. And with Vinny, as he leans towards the more positive side typically and more optimistic, we'll say, he even kind of said there's no sugarcoating it. The quarterback play was bad, which obviously that's the biggest thing, and we're going to keep talking about until they name a starter, as I keep saying. But I think Vinny did put in a good point. He was said in there every day they were installing a new plays and going on and moving on and training camp, which is pretty typical. So you don't get a chance to master it, and for everybody, it's the first time, except for our good friend Cody Whitehair, who may or may not make the team or anything like that. So I think it makes sense. I'm not I wouldn't put too much weight into it. I don't think you would expect either guy to really pull away at this time of the year. And if one did, that's probably because the other one's just awful between those two guys. But I mean, it is good to hear the defense is doing well. And again, biggest news is going to be training camp in 6 weeks now, end of July. So, kind of a little bit, I guess, what we would expect at this point in the year.
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely have a quarterback battle. I guess Minshew took more snaps day one, and then O'Connell took more snaps day two. So it's definitely a battle. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do in preseason. If it's going to be back and forth, if it's going to be one guy plays one quarter, one guy plays the next quarter. How much do they play the first game? How much do they play the second game? That's gonna tell us a lot of really how they feel about these quarterbacks. Is kind of that type of battle where the battle kind of goes down like that, because if it's set, you're going to see more one guy than the other, right? To be honest, the first game, whoever plays more is going to be okay, that guy's got the reps, right? Because that's going to tell us a lot, right? And then seeing some of the talk about how the offense played too. I mean, the run game is going to be a big factor in this. They're going to be a running football team. Let's keep it real. It's not going to be some type of passing football team where they're just passing all over the yard. That's not what they're going to be doing. So that factor of the offense wasn't really, highlighted this week because of minicamp and, what's going to happen and, no pads or anything like that. Yeah. And we probably won't hear about the run game until we get into the games for real. So that's going to be a big part of it too that it's missing. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's the thing I think's the hardest to evaluate, even when they're talking about Christian Wilkins being a beast. I think I talked about this last time. It's a little easier to be a beast on the D line when you can just attack the O line and they don't have pads on. So it's again, I expect that guy to be a beast, but it's hard to put much weight into practices without any pads, just in general. And like you said, without the running game too, that makes life a little bit easier for the defense because they're not going to come up and blow up the running back anyway, so they can kind of sit back and just play coverage. But it's be interesting. I feel in the preseason, the way we're probably going to see it is one guy's going to start the first game, and then the other guy starts the second. Kind of deal with that, and then unless one of them ends up pulling away early, and then I guess game 3 will be the Carter Bradley Anthony Brown matchup.
Yeah,
we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, the Carter Bradley versus Anthony Brown type of thing there. So we can see a lot of Carter Bradley anyways. I know we're going to see that a lot of Anthony Brown. They're going to battle out because I think Anthony Brown's kind of might be the third quarterback over Carter Bradley at this point, since some of the things I read, but it hasn't been too much on the other guys that are battling it out, and the wide receiver, the 5th wide receiver position, which I think is wide open. So we're gonna see a lot more of that too. Talk of that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's get to this film stuff, the film room type of stuff that we do here. So we're doing Isaiah Pola-Mao and Thayer Munford. So what were some of your thoughts on Isaiah Pola-Mao, his growth last season?
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that, like, in the limited opportunities, I mean, a lot of the clips we're going to look at are going to be repeats from earlier in the year. Like his game against the Dolphins, when I believe it was Marcus Epps went down pretty early, was pretty good. He had a pick, had a couple nice coverage plays, and a few tackles that were pretty nice. But I mean, he was getting some buzz in OTAs. I think Gerald Alexander was hyping him up and saying it was starting to click for him, and he was starting to see things a little bit faster, which we'll see. Like in one of these clips, like that's a good sign to see from him, especially because he's not the fastest guy in the world. I mean, you can probably imagine 6'4" guys have a little bit more trouble getting in and out of their breaks quickly. And like there are a few clips where you could see like he just doesn't quite have that top end speed, or at least didn't last year. But if you can start to recognize it and you can start to see things a little bit faster, that's how you overcome it. And I think that's going to help, being in a pivotal year 3 for him. Mm-hmm. And then Brian was even hyping him up too, just basically saying you better watch out. And he does have a lot of physical traits that you like. Like I said, 6'4" safety who can come out and play in the box and play deep. I think is something that's going to be huge, especially with Patrick Graham and how we know he likes to rotate those guys and guys that can do a lot of things like spin down in the box or cover the deep half, or the deep area of the field as a free safety. So I'm interested to see what he can do this year. Like I said, this is kind of the make or break year for him in year 3. The biggest thing for me is like his play against the run kind of needs to get a little bit better. There was like a few times where he just didn't look as sure of himself and not quite as confident in the run. Like one of the plays I had, like he had 3 missed tackles on the year, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But when you consider a small sample size, I think PFF had it at like a 16% missed tackle rate. But then again, like he did have plenty of other good open field tackles and stuff like that. So it's a matter of, is that 3 number going to stick, or is that going to be a bigger issue when the volume increases? So he's an intriguing guy for sure. That's definitely something I'm definitely going to be looking forward to watching him and seeing how he can do on a bigger sample size. That's the biggest question mark right now with him is, can he keep it up and can he stay consistent when he gets more playing time?
Yeah, it's very true. He's a little undersized though, right? I know he's
skinny. Oh, yeah, he's like he's like 6'4", 205, so he's pretty damn skinny. So need to put a little bit of pounds on.
Yeah, maybe he did that too as well in the offseason, because I mean that's had a little bit of issue with tackling, because especially when they played him in the box a lot, if I'm correct. Yeah. I mean he did come down in the box, especially like that third safety when they go into like dime or whatever, or big nickel, whatever you want to call it. If he needs to be that guy to keep more players in the field against some of these passing teams, yeah, you're going to want to do that. But, that's why I don't know if you want him playing against, especially the way this division is shaped. I don't know how. I mean, 2 of the teams, they have, one team has a quarterback that can throw a lot, but I don't know if they are. And, the other one's Patrick Mahomes. So, of course, you got to have, Isaiah Pola-Mao play in that game. But, the Broncos, I think they're going to have to run the ball too. So, you don't know how much he's going to play against some of those teams, or how much they're going to have 3 linebackers on the field. So, it'd be interesting to see what his growth will be. Thayer Munford, actually, Thayer Munford, I thought his tape was pretty good. He's not bad. It's something. I think he's got some issues with speed rushers his whole career. I mean, he just doesn't have the feet for it, and I don't know. You can't make feet faster. Right? I don't know what you could do to do that. He can't. It's just, he's got an issue. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's just the issue he's gonna have. But I think as a run blocker, he took a huge step last year as a run blocker. He was very impressive on both the games I watched that I checked out. I did Miami and Green Bay when he came in for relief for Illuminor. And of course, Colt Miller got hurt and they tried to play Illuminor at left tackle, him at right tackle. I thought he did really well in the run game in those games, but you could see that, with a good pass rusher that knows how to get around the edge, he's going to have issues, and it's going to be a little bit on the quarterback to get rid of the ball on time, because if you don't get rid of the ball on time, that guy's going to sack your quarterback. And, I'm going to show one sack, of course, with Jimmy Garoppolo, where he just holds the ball for like 30 seconds. But it's that type of issue, because if you're not getting rid of the ball very quick, that guy he's playing against is going to get around him eventually. And he does a good job of like maybe pushing the guy around, and, he's pretty good with his hands, but eventually that guy's going to turn the corner on him just because he doesn't have the speed and the feet to do it. So that's always going to be his issue. But I think there's some very high upside in the run game. That's why I was trying to talk about we haven't seen this team run the ball, because, I think him and Jackson Powers Johnson and, Dylan Parham back on the right side, they're going to be able to run the football.
Yeah. And I feel like everything you said, like I'm like, damn, that like that's pretty much matches up with what I felt like they were coming out of Ohio State. It's like that was like I feel like part of the question, why is he a guard or a tackle? Does he have the feet to hold up and tackle? So I don't know if he'll ever be like great at that part of his game, but if he can be enough to get by and use his long arms and his strength to kind of keep rushers and give quarterbacks like an extra half second to maybe push a ball down the field, then it is what it is. Like that's how you can have to live with it. Good news is I don't think they have neither quarterback has a particularly like cannon or anything like that. So I don't think they're going to be dialing up too many deep shots this year anyway. So, but yeah. I'm very intrigued to see what Thayer Munford. I feel like the arrow has definitely been pointing up on him for the last 2 years. So I'm excited to see what he can do in a bigger starting role this year.
Yeah, because maybe Gardner Minshew might get some sacks with him, because that's what I'm talking about. Like Minshew would try to roll out and make a play, and then the guy Mumford is blocking. He's getting around the corner. Mumford's pushing him around, but then he'll get around Mumford, and then here comes Minshew running, and then here comes this guy, and then just that's you have to worry about a little bit with him. But yeah, let's get into Pola-Mao first, man. Let's check him out.
Sounds good. All right, you got me up there.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right, so I'm gonna start with some of the bad and work our way up. But yeah, this is gonna be the first clip for you, and this is what I'm talking about with the open field tackling. Like again, we'll see a few other clips where he does it well, which almost makes plays like this a little more frustrating. But it's just a matter of consistency. Like you can see here, like I'm not 100% sure why he keeps doing this little hopping thing. Like everything up to it is perfect, right? Like this is a zone run that he's on the backside of. Looks like mid zone. Got everything plugged up on the front side. Tyree Wilson, nice little job making bounce out back outside here. And he's in a perfect position to go make a TFL or a tackle right at the line of scrimmage. But like if you notice his feet, like instead of like chopping and breaking down and buzzing, he just does that little hop and he can't. And when this running back goes to cut off balance, he ends up slipping because his feet are like, if you ever hear someone talking about getting out of your tube, like you can see like right here how far out his feet are from his shoulders when he's breaking down. And that makes it harder to cut, especially when you're reacting to somebody. And it's just a little arm tackle. And instead of a gain for one or none or 1 yard, it ends up being a gain of 5, maybe even 6 there. Now this one, you guys are gonna have to bear with me because he does make the tackle here, but I'm gonna explain why, because it's more of a run fit issue. And if you notice with the way the Raiders are playing this, I believe it's a power run. Yep, it's a power run. What they're trying to do is get this running back to spill outside so that Jacorian Bennett over here can go get an unblocked tackle right at the line of scrimmage. Like if you notice, like Tyree Wilson here, he's going to work under the puller, and then they're going to clog it up in the middle so that this running back bounces it. And again, then Jacorian Bennett comes in, fills the alley, and it's a nice tackle. The problem with Pola-Mao here, if you watch, and we'll see it from the end zone view too, he fits to the outside of this block from Jalen Guyton here. And that creates this big lane for this running back to cut back, especially with Luke Masterson getting washed a little bit. Now, again, he ends up coming off the block and making the tackle here, but I think against a better receiver who's better at blocking, this isn't going to happen. And also, too, like here, I'll show you you can see like the lane here now that the running back has. Whereas if he's on the inside, he's going to be in a better position to fill that. And either that running back has to bounce, or instead of tackling him with like a lunge and an arm tackle, and to be honest, kind of getting lucky, he can be in a position to, if he was on the inside, square the running back up. And then he makes that tackle for 1 or 2 yards instead of this guy being able to get 5. So it's a little thing. Again, bear with me here because he does make the tackle. This is honestly just a terrible block from Guyton. Like this against a better player against better competition might be a huge gain. Where if we saw the back that from the end zone or from the sideline view, there was this big old lane that it would just be him and the safety and the running back and the safety between him and the end zone. So again, just some things to work on. One clip here in coverage. This is what I was talking about a little bit, where he just doesn't quite have the speed to break on this route. Now, again, this is a nice throw from Easton Stick. So I'm not going to knock Pola-Mao too much on this. But like you can see, like Stick does kind of stare this down, and he's a little late to break on it. Like the ball's already out, and he's just now starting to get to there. And again, I don't know how much he's going to be able to affect that pass, but at least could have been in a better position where if he had a little bit more speed and read it a little bit faster, who knows, he might have been able to get there and make contact, at least maybe give this receiver some alligator arms or anything. Again, I'm not harping on him too much on this one because this is more of just a good play call with that seam against cover 3. But a little bit of what you see where he can show us a little bit of improvement, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of laughing at it because I know this game's like 63-0 because there's so many backups.
Oh, game. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Also, situation, I guess, a little bit matters context where it is a blowout. Moving on to some of the good things, like here we're going to see a much better open field tackle for him, which is almost what makes that like first play a little more frustrating because you know he can do it. This is bad defense, but that is perfect. Like watch his feet. Like you see, like right about at the 40, how now we're in our tube. He's breaking down, buzzing the feet. And then that's just a perfect form tackle, wrapping up, getting low, especially for a 6'4" guy, or makes a great open field tackle on Eckler, who's a shifty dude, off this screen. So that's where it's like, that's what I'm talking about. Where like, okay, was that first play, was that just like a one-time thing or just a one-time screw up? Or is it something that's going to be a bigger issue later down the road? Because again, he does have a few nice open field tackles. We'll get another one here. This time going to get a screen from the Dolphins. Hobbs does a great job of reading it and blowing it up. And Pola-Mao's right there to go clean it up and go get that tackle to prevent the touchdown. Go get another TFL. So again, has some good open field tackles on film. Just a matter of staying consistent with it with the bigger sample size. Another one here in that same game as before. Again, this was another beautiful read. Like he sees the outside release, sees this receiver's not the guy he's lined up across from is going out to block the corner and not running a route. Times it up perfectly, beats Slater to the spot. And again, another nice open field tackle. Get a good view of it here. That is one thing I'll definitely give him a ton of credit for being 6'4". He does a really good job of getting his pads down. Like, I mean, probably shouldn't have paused that. It's not a great look for him right there. But you can see the pad level to go down there and get that tackle. Make sure Everett doesn't have any kids.
Yeah.
And then this one too, like this one, obviously ball doesn't come his way, but one thing in this game that the Dolphins were, if you remember, the Dolphins were killing the Raiders on these like backside digs or these digs with Tyreek Hill. And this one, like, what really impressed me too is the Raiders are running cover 3 cloud here. He sees the dig, he drives on it. You can see Tua wants to go there, but then also with Spillane, shout out Spillane, kind of working for depth, and Pola-Mao crashing on it. Tua has to come off of it and ends up way overthrowing. This is a rough game for Tua. Way overthrowing the check down, and now it's 3rd and down. Again, against a guy that's one of the more dangerous threats in the league, to have the balls to come and kind of crash down on it and not be worried about getting beat deep and then just take that away. Like that was a pretty good rep, especially for a guy that in that game was coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Get a similar one here. This time he's rolling down in the curl flat. I love it. Sinking to come help out on this dig route. We've shown this a few times in the past where he sinks, helps take away that dig. Now he sees the out route, goes crashes down and takes away that too. So again, a little bit more advanced, like where he's starting to read the play and starting to see the field a little bit better. I think that's what Alexander's talking about in OTAs. So it's good to hear that he's continuing to grow there. Now ignore the fact that Stick still ends up picking up the first with his legs, but from Pola-Mao's perspective, I like how he's kind of doing his job and reading the field and seeing it a lot more. This one, cover 4 look from the Raiders. Ended up being a nice catch by, is that Waddle? I can't remember. But anyway, same kind of thing. Like I like how he's breaking on it and kind of reads the route and ends up making contact pretty much right as the receiver casts the ball. Just ended up being a nice catch by this receiver. But you do this more times than not, that's going to be an incompletion. Maybe a little more force on the hit, but either way, I'll take this from a guy that's, again, developing.
Yeah, Tua threw that back shoulder too. So I mean, if a quarterback doesn't do that, doesn't have the savvy to do that, he might pick that ball off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a good chance to get a PBU. Beautiful break on it. Timed it up well too.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this one's going to be his pick from last year. Could roll to cover 3. Now, I will say he probably should be a little bit more aggressive on this this dig because Waddle here is going to run the over route instead of running the post, and Tua is stuck on his pre-snap read and throws the post, so he gets a little lucky here. But hey, you've heard me say it before. Tips it over, throws. It's how you make your money on safe as a safety. Does a good job of reading Tua's eyes. Ends up making the grab. It's a nice play. And maybe you should be a little bit closer to Waddle here on the dig, but you're reading the quarterback. We'll take that. We'll take picks.
He might have been thinking Yankee there, because I mean I feel like Waddle ran the wrong route here, and that's why Tua had to pick. But
maybe I was just thinking because it is single high. Waddle's probably trying to bend it towards the sideline versus
it's definitely a miscommunication, because I mean I think Waddle actually made the right decision because if he throws it there, if he's open, but like Tua is just like, Yankee, I'm gonna throw a post and you're gonna get it from me, Waddle. And it didn't happen. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
No, you're good. All right, we'll wrap up here. This was actually my favorite play, even more than the pick that Pola-Mao made last year. Like, Raiders are going to roll down and cover 3. He's in the curl to flat. Again, nothing in his area. Keeps working for depth, which I keep harping on with zone defense. And I mean, got Tyreek Hill on, what is this, the comeback route. Keeps working for depth. Goes up, tries to high point the ball, and forces Tua to throw it over him. And at that point, like, there's no chance for Tyreek Hill to be able to come out over this, because if he throws it any lower, it's a pick or at least a PBU. Ends up forcing him out of bounds. Now it's 3rd and 15. Yeah. So again, just to the wherewithal to recognize what's going on, spin down, and then 2, work for depth, force him to go up and get it. Like, that's a nice play. So, like I said, man, showed some growth a little bit with the route recognition and recognizing what's going on. A little bit of a betterness to, see the field a little bit better, and to hear that he's continuing to grow in that area is encouraging. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I don't know what exactly role he'll have. I mean, maybe he ends up beating out Marcus Epps, which would be probably an ideal situation for the Raiders because he's young. Yeah. And Epps is on a contract year. And I mean, Pola-Mao's like I think he's a restricted free agent or something like that at the end of the year. So could be a little bit cheaper for him, but yeah, definitely a guy that's intriguing. Like I said, he can play the center field role and play in the box a little bit. Just got to get a little bit more stout and figure out where he fits in the run fit and show a little bit better of understanding than he did on that one rep right that I showed on that power run. So interesting dude. Yeah, man.
His zone eyes is really good. He's not a cover grass guy, which I like. He just, especially that last play you showed. I mean, that's kind of what, the difference between like a college player and an NFL player is just not covering grass. A college guy just might sit there and he throw it over the top of his head. He's like, nobody's around me. I got an out route behind me. I'm going to try to go cover that instead of just sitting there and letting Tua just throw that ball where he needs to. So, yeah, there's a lot of impressive stuff there. You can just definitely see that he has an understanding of what to do in zone. And I mean, that's what they run. They run cover 3 all the time. And if he has a good understanding of it, he's going to get some chance to play. So, yeah, it just shows that I don't know how these young safeties are going to make this football team, man. It's going to be interesting how many safeties they keep.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he could play special teams. I mean, like, we have 3 safeties that are locked up. Unless they move on from Marcus Epps, that's what I'm saying. Like, do they make that move and try to play him instead? But I don't know if they're going to do that. I think somebody talked about Marcus Epps being one of the better safeties in the league. I think it was Rob Ryan. So I kind of told us a little bit how that's going to go. So yeah, man, that 4th safety spot, that's going to be a battle. And it's going to be hard for them to choose.
Yeah, I feel like if Pola-Mao is going to play over Marcus Epps, he'd have to have one hell of a training camp. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he'd have to like, for you to be confident to be like, oh yeah, this is our guy moving forward, and we're not even going to worry about having the more veteran guy in Epps, who was a solid player last year. Then like Pola-Mao would have to have like an amazing camp for them to make that move. But I definitely, like I said, I'm interested to see what he can do for the future, and maybe he's a guy that can work his way onto the field and force the coaching staff to play him a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. All right, let's get into Thayer Munford here. All right, so let's get into Thayer Munford. Start off with the run game and where he was very impressive. I think he does a really good job here. So get a little duo run here. And you see, definitely he has good pad level because it's a big guy, man. So he's getting low, right? I mean, it might not seem that way all the time, but he's getting low, right? He has a good push here. You see, he's able to just drive. I believe this is Kenny Clark here. No, it's not Kenny Clark, but you see him just be able to drive, win the hand fight there, reset his hands really well, force a good block, allow Jacobs to have a nice hole there. Just watch one more time here. It's a little help from Van Roten here on the duo run. Boom. Just good overall job by the line there. Get the run game going. So, if, duo inside zone are similar. So, if, it comes to zone run team, it's probably just be more inside zone. So, definitely can see why they feel comfortable with him at right tackle. Even though it's interesting, James Craig said he's a better left tackle. I just thought that was an interesting comment there. All right, you see him here. All right, so what are we getting on this one? A little bit of inside zone on this one. See him able to get that push there. He's able to use his long arms, a lot of push. Jacobs kind of just bounces this one because he has a guy coming inside. I don't think he should have did that, but that's a different story. But you see here, he's able to get that push, and with that linebacker kind of run blitzing inside here. See the run blitz, boom, get up there, hey Mayer, get up there, make a good tackle. This is pure power, in my opinion, but. All right, so here's another one. And what I really like about this one, too, you see him get up to the linebacker again. And I like how low his pad level is. You see how low he is? He's getting lower to this linebacker. I'm telling you, he's a tall dude. He's not small. Hands inside, good hand placement right there. He's able to keep driving this guy. And, he has so much power that 45 is trying to get away from him, but he can't. And it helps Jacobs get to the second level and make a nice run.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed too, like if you look at his hands come up and like down and up to help him get leverage advantage. Like even if he's not necessarily has his helmet down, like that's going to help stand guys up. Like he's done that every single time.
Yeah. So he's very effective there in the run game, man. And having, James Craig might be able to improve on that. And, I feel like just from a horizontal lateral, he's pretty athletic. He can run the zone run game, I believe. So here we go. Now he's against Christian Wilkins. You see a little outside zone run on this one. Oh, no, mid zone more than anything. So you see, like I said, he's good pad level. I mean, Christian Wilkins is a great run defender. So like a lot of these blocks made me very confident that he can block anybody. So you see him just kind of just move. He's moving Wilkins. Wilkins can't even getting pushed to the second level and allows Jacobs to have a really good run here. So he does a great job of setting up this cutback here on this one because Wilkins gets no push. He's just pushing and gets him into the second level. Like he's got him about 5 yards downfield almost. And Wilkins has been a great run defender his whole career. I mean, he had a great pass rush season last year, but one thing he does is play the run really well and to kind of see some of these blocks against him. Like I said, gives me a lot of confidence that he can do this. And you see it, this one, what I like in the run game too, he does a good job of flipping his hips. Yeah. That's why I think he could play zone. So like there's some athleticism there for his size. It's just when you see it, just the feet in pass protection. We'll talk about that later. It just gets a little iffy. But look how he's got Christian Wilkins. Just this time's 3 or 4 yards downfield.
Yeah, that's nice, right? Yeah, like cutbacks lanes there if you can get there.
And just being able to flip his hips like that is impressive. So that's what you talk about how the offense struggling. Like if they can run the ball, we're not going to be talking about them struggling during the season. I mean, here's another one. He got a little help on this one. He did, but it's just the push that he's getting. Wilkins, you can see Wilkins is a veteran because he does a good job of how you split double teams. You get sideways like that. That's how you split double teams. But he's still able to get that push because he has good feet there, good base, and he's just so powerful. And if you watch this run again, like if Jacobs kind of just goes straight forward a little bit, he probably gets more yards than he does if he tries to bounce this. So, yeah, it doesn't show up in the stat sheet for the running back. But, Zamir White is more of a straightforward runner. He's not going to try to be a hero all the time. So you're going to see at least 3 or 4 yards out of that one. Keep them on schedule.
Yeah.
Here he is against Kenny Clark. Now, against some of the better guys, this is probably like his worst rep right here. But you still see that he has good pad level. But, he just lost the hand fight here. And then, Kenny Clark, which is a stud. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. And he just kind of tosses him here. He's able to make the tackle. So, this doesn't happen a lot, though. I mean, this is probably his only bad run clip out of 2 games, to be honest. This is the worst one. But you just see, like, against some of the better players, they're going to be able to. If they can get their hands up on him quicker than he can, he's got a little issues with that. But this is rare. He was damn consistent as a run blocker last year, and it's in this PFF grade, it's in everything. And so here's another rep. You see him against Kenny Clark another time though, where this is a good rep against Kenny Clark. So this time he wins the hand fight. He gets his hands on him first. Clark, he's savvy. He's a beast. So it's not going to be easy. So he gets a little bit of a push on him, but you see how strong Munford is, right? He doesn't move Munford. Munford does a good job of flipping his hips again and resetting the block. And then Jacobs is able to cut back inside because of it and get about 10 yards or 9 or 8, So this is one of his most impressive blocks because this kind of shows that he's not able to, if he originally loses, like I said, he has the hips to kind of just keep fighting. And he's so big, you're just not going to be able to, you're not pushing him around, basically.
Yeah.
It's another good run there and another good run block. So there's a lot of upside here, man. I think you can, they're definitely be able to run the ball this year. Let's just say that. I'm confident that whoever the running back is, they're going to be able to get some push, right? Especially how these linebackers are and even how these defensive ends are. So let's talk about the run pass game. And one thing that you could say about Munford in the pass game is that he's smart. He definitely understands stunts. Definitely does a good job of being in the right spot. He's never going to make a mistake in these type of issues. So you could always also see here, take it back a little bit, just where his eyes go, right? He has good eyes here. He sees what Rashawn Gary is doing. He already notices that he's about to go inside. So then he switches here at 45 and you're able to use those long arms. Makes a good block there.
I like too, like if you watch his inside hand, he keeps it wide so he can feel that guy coming because he knows he has a little bit more time with Gary being so wide.
Yeah, he's a smart player, man. I like what he can do, to be honest. All right, so here's another one. So he knows he got help on Gary from Hooper, right? So he can wait. He does a good job of picking up this blitzer here instead. And then, also, like as soon as Hooper releases, he gets his eyes right back to Gary and just doesn't let Gary run free. Of course, his blitzer kind of comes more outside because of him and Roten being able to double team him right there. So it gives Garoppolo plenty of time here. Let's watch one more time. His eyes go outside, make sure that this chip happens. Then he's able to help inside with Van Roten and be able to, make Gary come back inside. And he's at the right spot there.
Recognizes that he has more time too with that chip too, which is nice to see.
Yeah. All right, so here's another one here. And what I like about this one is the same thing here because you see 43 kind of shows like he's going to come. So he does a good job of making sure if he does come before I help on Wilkins, right? So he sees this season. He doesn't come right to Wilkins right there. Good block. And I like how he got his hands inside. He has good hand placement too. Right there, gets his hands inside of there. You're not going anywhere, Wilkins. Well, this quarterback get a good throw. All right, so here's another one too. Like when you give him some help, he does a better job of getting to his spot quicker. Sometimes you're gonna have to do this. You got to slow guys down a little bit, slow down some of these speed rushers because you're not gonna be able to go through them. Right. So I mean, you gotta give him some help. I'm not gonna lie. If he's going against some of these speed rushers, especially like the ones the Dolphins had, it gives him more time to get to his spot. You can get a good block in there. And it's just not a lot of bad film. That's the best part. So you see here too, even on this one where Gary has a lot of leverage. Gary's just kind of pushing him there. He's still able to have a good block there too. He's a pretty damn good anchor. He does. You're not able to just bull rush through him all the time. It ain't gonna. All right, so here's another one here. Like I said, they try to run through it, and like I said, I think this is Van Ginkel or whatever. I don't know, it's Van Ginkel or something. 43. Yeah. So he's able to get, like I said, he's able to get a little bit of push there on the bull, but you're just not going to get to the quarterback though. Trying to run through him, he just kind of just throws him to the ground. It was just a good job of getting his feet back together, right? Reset his feet here, boom, gets right here, and I just push you to the ground.
Yeah, he recovered nicely because that one caught him off guard a little bit. Van Ginkel being a little bit faster. He still was able to keep his feet underneath him, at least stay upright.
All right, so this one's about kind of guys just getting around him, though. Okay, so we'll see on this one. This is a touchdown throw for O'Connell, but you kind of see on the outside here, his feet are just slow. So this guy starts winning because he has the slow feet. He's able to get around the corner here, right? And that's what I was talking about. The quarterback doesn't get this ball off on time. The quarterback just hold the ball, how he can start giving us some sacks. So, because he didn't win that rep, but he was able to hold the guy off enough here on this little jump set here. You guys able to reset because he doesn't do a great job of countering, and when he's doing some pass blocking, because one is just sometimes his feet too slow. You gotta have some good feet to counter too, because you got to be able to stay with this pass rusher. All right, and then here's with Garoppolo where you can see just Gary's just too fast for him around the corner, right? He's just not able to get to that spot to catch Gary. So even when he tries to get his hands on him, it's too late. Gary's already around him. He's able to rip through easily, and he's pushing him around the corner a little bit. This is like the perfect example. He's pushing him around the corner a little bit. Maybe if the quarterback already got rid of the ball, we're okay, but he doesn't. So the quarterback holds the ball a little bit too much, and he's able to just rip around him and get a sack.
Can you go back to the pre-snap look too? So this is the other thing too. Like you notice this one, he like vertical sets, whereas like before he was using more of that 45 degree against a wide rusher. When you don't have great feet, like you got to use the 45 degree set. I'd like to see him just like work more wide off the snap to kind of cut down on that space too. Like especially because he doesn't have great feet. Like that's I think something he can keep on doing to have a better rep this time. Like work wide initially.
You think that's coaching a little bit too, right? You feel like that's.
I would think so. I don't know what they were. Maybe they wanted him to vertical set in this pass play if they're trying to throw it down the field. But yeah, I would. If I'm coaching him up, I'm saying don't even worry about getting depth. Just get your hands on him.
Yeah.
Play to your strengths, not his.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So here's another one too. And this is what's about more of the feet issue, because Wilkins is just able to keep going around him, right? It's just too much. And he gets some help from Van Roten here.
He's very reliant on his hands and his strength, and when that, and then like because of that, his feet get stuck in cement after contact. Like watch here, kind of slows way down.
Mm-hmm. Some help from Van Roten. I don't got killed on that play. Josh Jacobs got murdered on this play. It was just
Yeah.
All right. Last one here. and like I said, this is another example of the quarterback doesn't get rid of the ball quick. This is some good processing here by O'Connell getting rid of this ball quickly and reading this. But let's just say he tries to make a play. Jalen Phillips is around him. He's losing the block. Here comes Jalen Phillips, but the ball's already out. So, yeah, he gets in the way really well, no matter what. Which something I really like about him. But yeah, there's some things he has to work on to get better, and to the feet thing. I don't know if that's ever to get better, but there's a lot of upside there as a right tackle. I mean, he definitely is good enough to play and to start. In my opinion, I don't think he's a liability out there. I think he should be the starter, and I think he kind of completes the offensive line a little bit because you have Miller, Johnson, James, Parham, and Munford in the way he's playing. Man, it's not bad. I mean, it's pretty good offensive line. They're young, and there's a lot of growth from him from year 1 to year 2, especially in the run game. I think in the run game he's going to help out tremendously, and they're going to be they're going to be able to run the ball really damn well. And if the running backs can find the holes, and there's more straightforward running backs, guys who don't try to make plays all the time. So that's why you saw Zamir White maybe have a more effective year at the end of the season, because he's just hitting holes. He's not really trying to make plays or anything like that. So this is true though, right?
You're saying Zamir White's lack of vision actually ends up helping him out a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, the power scheme it does, right? So I mean, well, we'll see this year in the zone scheme how that works. But yeah, you saw a little bit of that ability to be able to run the ball, be a good run blocker. Man, I'm not gonna say great, but definitely good.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I feel like the arrow's pointing up for him. I mean, the feet and pass protection are probably always, like you said, always going to be an issue. But I think if he can get more consistent about getting his hands on guys early, like even that rep against Jalen Phillips, like he worked wide off the snap and it was much better, and at least gave O'Connell a chance. And it looked like O'Connell had just a 3-step drop. So maybe he's not as worried about getting beat around the edge in that scenario, or at least the way he did. So because the ball's supposed to be out quickly. But I hear what you're saying, where you're like, Gardner Minshew with Thayer Munford feels like a tough combo, because Gardner Minshew in those reps will start dropping too far. And then again, when you don't have a right tackle with great feet, that's a bad combo, because that's how sacks end up happening, with the quarterback drifting too far out of the pocket and a guy getting beaten around the edge with speed. So yeah, that's for me another reason to kind of hope O'Connell ends up winning this battle. So
yeah, because I mean that's exactly what I'm thinking. Because you watch Mumford versus Garoppolo, and sometimes with Garoppolo, and sometimes Garoppolo just ends up running into guys, or because he's drifting. All those type of things you don't like in the pocket, and it does make a player like Mumford look worse than he actually is, because he doesn't have the feet to stick with some of these speed rushers. So if you're dropping too far, you're drifting back in the pocket. The guy where Mumford is surviving, it's a sack. Because that's what it is. He doesn't do a good job of surviving against some of those reps. Like you could tell the long arms help him, and he can survive. It's just if you have a guy that's not very pocket savvy, it's gonna be some sacks that you don't like. So
yeah, for sure. It's a big reason why some people you see Jeff Schwartz on Twitter complaining about quarterbacks should be more responsible for sacks than offensive linemen too, because that can happen a lot, especially with tackles.
100%, man. All right, so we're out of here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely check out Friday Night Live as well. If you haven't checked that out, like I said, get a t-shirt from the Bonfire website. If you haven't, go ahead. If I get that the code, I'll put the code up here. You can use this code as well. Stop the show and hit the pause button. Use that code right there, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, and we're out of here, guys. Peace.
See ya.
Oh, and happy Father's Day, guys. Happy Father's Day. So